This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 653 of Horse Tip Daily. A different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you, one day at a time. Today's tip is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, Summer Games Electrolytes. Beat the heat with Summer Games. Greetings, horse people. Coach Jen here, and thanks for tuning in to Horse Tip Daily. Today's tip is from episode number 198 of the Eventing Radio Show here on the Horse Radio Network. It features Dr. Laura Werner from Hagyard Equine Medical Institute, and she talks about emergency preparedness and equine rescue. But first, let's hear from our sponsor, Kentucky Performance Products, maker of Summer Games and Summer Games Plus electrolytes. How is Summer Games different from other electrolyte products? Summer Games Plus contains the same electrolyte formulation as Summer Games Electrolyte, which was originally formulated for the horses competing at the 1996 Olympics. The formulation was based on the results of research conducted in anticipation of the Games, which were held in Atlanta, Georgia, known for its hot, humid summers. Summer Games mimics the composition of equine sweat, supplying the horse with the exact amounts and ratios of electrolytes relinquished in sweat. Summer Games Plus contains no sugar, like many popular commercial electrolyte supplements. Summer Games Plus also contains a buffering agent that helps create a soothing gastric environment. This is especially important for horses subjected to the stresses often related to top performance, such as exertion, transportation, and unfamiliar stabling atmospheres. Ask for Summer Games and Summer Games Plus electrolytes at your local tack and feed supplier, or visit kppusa.com. Now, on with today's tip.
This week, with the tragic accident that was with the pod, how should you react? What you should do, and what's the best course of action?
Well, oftentimes if there is a severe trailer accident, it's going to involve multiple emergency personnel, so it may involve veterinarians as well as firefighters and such on the scene to help with the accident scene, and sometimes, unfortunately, that they may need the heavy equipment that firefighters or police personnel have to help remove parts of the trailer or help extract the horses from the trailer by cutting parts of the trailer and such. So it's usually a team effort in order to help with everybody, and sometimes, like I said, finding a veterinarian in the area that does have some emergency training, and then also probably finding access to where your nearest referral hospital is to then have that facility available to transport your horses to. There are several hospitals that will have equine ambulances or have an access to an equine ambulance, which is sometimes necessary to have winches or other equipment that's needed to get the horses. Oftentimes we will anesthetize the horse and then extract it from the trailer and then take it to the referral hospital if the horse is stable enough to do so. But often the horses will panic in those types of situations, and they can hurt themselves or hurt the others around them trying to help them. So it's important, like I said, to stabilize them, but possibly if we need to, anesthetize them to get them out of that situation to a safer place. Then.
And if you're the driver or the groom, should you try and go into the trailer and help your horse? Or what's the best thing immediately when something happens like that?
It is. I think everybody who is hauling horses, especially hauling horses long distance, should have an emergency kit on them with some basic drugs. And so that's have a great relationship with your veterinarian that have an emergency kit with some sedatives or anti-inflammatories in your emergency kit to have, and that way, under your veterinarian's direction, you could administer, if you can access the horse safely, that you might be able to administer them the sedatives or anti-inflammatories right away, at least until that emergency personnel would get there. So I guess most of my clients will have an emergency kit with them, and that's important too to have those drugs. And again, just under your veterinarian's,
for dire emergencies.
Right, for dire emergencies, but under your veterinarian's guidance, to help possibly administer those drugs if you can safely access the horse. If you can't safely access the horse, then wait for the personnel to get there. But if the horse is really struggling, it may help sometimes to give them a very small dose of tranquilizer, again, per your veterinarian's recommendations, to settle the horse down. It's always safer to stay on the back side of the horse, so by its head or by its withers. That is a safer place. Sometimes you can help by calm the horse by a blindfold will often help, or you can also help by sitting on the horse's head and neck to keep them down. That will help, but again, stay away from their front feet or their hind feet that might be kind of flailing around if that's in that sort of situation.
And then once you get them off the trailer and to either your vets or hopefully home, best case scenario, what do you look for in terms of shock or in terms of other injuries that you can't necessarily see? How do you...
Right. I would recommend the trail vaccines I've recommended. I do recommend that they stay at the nearest referral hospital for a few days just for monitoring, because some stuff doesn't come up right away. There might be, they might seem stable, especially with the excitement of everything that's happened. They might seem stable enough, and then some things such as abdominal or trauma to their chest, with bleeding, or a diaphragmatic hernia or a spleen tear may not be evident right away. So I always like to keep them at least for a day or two. Watch them. We can perform ultrasounds of their chest and abdomen, serially, just to evaluate them and make sure everything looks okay, and run blood work, that type of thing, just to monitor them overnight. Because again, sometimes the traumas, may not show up right away.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Samantha Clark of the Eventing Radio Show, providing that interview for us. It was very interesting. If you want to hear the interview in its entirety, you can just tune into the Eventing Radio Show at eventingradio.com. It's episode number 198. And if you enjoy listening to Dr. Werner's advice and wisdom, you can tune into the radio show, Eventing Radio Show, regularly. She will be a regular contributor over there. And don't forget, support our sponsors here on Horse Tip Daily, because they make these podcasts possible. Today's sponsor has been Kentucky Performance Products Summer Games Electrolytes. Ask for Summer Games by name at your local tack and feed supplier, or visit them online at kppusa.com. Please stop by the Horse Tip Daily Facebook page and let us know what you think of the tips you hear on the show. It's also a great place to tell us about topics you'd like to hear us cover on the show. You can subscribe to all the great shows on the Horse Radio Network through iTunes or Zune and get your horse podcasts automatically downloaded to your iPod, Zune, or MP3 player. You can also listen to the shows right on Facebook. The player's right there every day. I'll be back again tomorrow with another new expert and a different horse tip. Until then, go ride your horse! The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.